Hi, good to see you again. Welcome to another confirmation video. This one's going to center on Ash Wednesday, Lent, and Shrove Tuesday. Let's start off with Shrove Tuesday. Shrove Tuesday is the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday. Okay, that sounds familiar. Tuesday follows Wednesday. What it was back in olden times, if you want to call it that, people used to eat up all the butter and all the fatty things on Tuesday before Ash Wednesday, because Ash Wednesday was the start of Lent, and people were supposed to eat less and make other sacrifices to show how penitent or sorry they were about their sinful nature. So let's start off with Shrove Tuesday. Let's see what Chuck has to say about it.
About 6 weeks from Easter, you may start seeing things for Shrove Tuesday, or as Mardi Gras enthusiasts refer to it, Fat Tuesday, or as its overprotective mother might refer to it, Big Bone Tuesday. Now maybe there's a pancake breakfast or supper, but what is that? Shrove Tuesday. And what do pancakes have to do with anything? No, besides butter and syrup. It's all about Shrove Tuesday on this episode of Chuck Knows Church. Shrove Tuesday is the day before Ash Wednesday, which is the first day of Lent, which is 40 days before Easter, and 29 days before my birthday. Well, it's 40 days before Easter if you don't count the Sundays, because Lent, never mind. We're talking about Lent in another episode, and we're talking about my birthday, never. Thank you for that. So, Shrove Tuesday, or Fat Tuesday, or maybe you recognize Pancake Tuesday. It's all clicking now, isn't it? Now, the word shrove is the past tense of the verb shrive. And we all know what that means, don't we? Yeah, I didn't think so. Shrive means to receive absolution by confessing and doing penance. So Shrove Tuesday got its name from the shriving that Christians were supposed to do immediately before Lent. Lent being a time to prepare for Easter through prayer or repentance, and most commonly perhaps self-denial, like giving up sweets or fatty foods or reality television. Now, preparing for that self-denial meant limiting the good things that you might find tempting. So, traditionally, for many, Shrove Tuesday became Fat Tuesday or even Pancake Tuesday, because making a pancake is a way to use up all the rich foods like eggs and milk and sugar before the fasting season of the 40 days of Lent. Now, this is a particularly effective practice if you like jelly bean, chocolate chip, leftover pie pancakes, which I do. Of course, at our church, Shrove Tuesday always means a pancake breakfast. Someone has to eat them, right? Use up all the fat and sugar and jelly beans. All right, to learn more, you can ask your pastor. Tell me, stop something. Oh, these are good. Really tasty jelly beans. Man, I lost a little bit here. My compliments to the chef.
We're never going to say cut. We're just going to keep on going and going.
This is what I love for my birthday.
I didn't realize you don't have any water. Clear.
Well, that was interesting about Shrove Tuesday. We never really had a pancake breakfast here at Bethany because we had our Ash Wednesday chili supper, which was a tradition for the youth, mainly the confirmation class, to put on. Of course, we can't do it this year because of the pandemic, although there is a free one tomorrow, and I'll talk about that later. Now let's go into Lent. Let's see what Chuck has to say about Lent.
You ever hear of Lent? No, not lint, Lent. Lint you find in your belly button. What, we don't say belly button, sorry. Never mind. We are talking about Lent, not lint, on this episode, not episode, of Chuck Knows Church. Lent is observed in the liturgical year for approximately 6 weeks, considered a time of preparation leading up to Easter. Is this awkward for anyone else? I think we're good. Thank you. In most Western Protestant churches, Sundays are not counted as part of Lent. So the time from Ash Wednesday until Easter is 40 days, when Sundays are excluded. This is to recognize the 40 days that Jesus spent fasting in the desert, where he endured temptations before beginning his public ministry. Now, as we said, Lent is a time to prepare for Easter. In fact, the church focuses on increasing spiritual disciplines such as prayer and repentance, or self-denial, like giving up sweets or fatty foods, or the mispronunciation of words like Lent. All this provides an example to those preparing to live out the covenant of baptism. Now that's why Lent can also be a time to take on something, a chance to improve yourself, grow spiritually, work on relational or bodily fitness, learn to juggle. Whatever it is you choose to do or not do, it's about enhancing the discipline of the whole body for conversion from sin and death to love and life in Jesus Christ. Now, my favorite part is right before Lent on Shrove Tuesday, aka Fat Tuesday, the day before Ash Wednesday, and right after No Interesting Nickname Monday. Fat Tuesday is where we eat up all the good food in the house to prepare for the fasting season of the 40 days of Lent, which always translates to a pancake breakfast at our church. There we go. Can I get a fork? Someone? Anyone? A fork?
We already did the Shrove Tuesday episode.
Okay, did you ever hear of seconds?
Now, like Chuck said, Lent is 40 days. But if you count from Ash Wednesday to Easter, it's more than 40 days. The reason for that is that Sundays are not counted. Sundays are supposed to be a day of celebration because that's when Christ rose from his grave. So every Sunday we celebrate and don't count it as part of Lent. Well, lastly, let's talk about Ash Wednesday. Well, Chuck, you're up again. Give us some information here.
Ever see someone with that mark on their forehead, maybe in the sign of a cross, and you think, well, that's an interesting birthmark? It's no birthmark. We're talking about Ash Wednesday on this episode, Chuck Knows Church. It seems to happen every year. I bump into someone with a mark on their forehead and I say, hey, you got something right there. And then I realize it's Ash Wednesday. Sorry. Ash Wednesday. It marks the first day of the Lenten season, and Lent continues right up to Easter. Now, for Christians, Lent is generally a time of preparation when we practice things like prayer and asceticism, which has nothing to do with dry skin or itchy scalp. Asceticism is self-denial, and in conjunction with prayer, it helps us remember the 40 days that Jesus spent fasting and praying in the desert when he endured the temptation. Now, how Ash Wednesday and ashes on your forehead came to begin the Lenten season is a little more complicated. Now, the first historical mention of Ash Wednesday was in a 7th century church service book, but how and when the practice converged with the season of Lent is not clear. But it's usually done by a minister using ashes to make the sign of the cross on our forehead with words like Genesis 3:19. Remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. It reminds us of our own mortality and our need for repentance. It's a powerful way to begin the Lenten season, leading us up to the glorious celebration of the time of the resurrection of Jesus Christ on Easter. And it's one of the few times that parents can't get onto their kids for not washing their face. Well, that's Ash Wednesday. To learn more, ask your pastor. Tell him Chuck sent you.
When those ashes are put on your brow, the pastor says, remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. You are dust. You were created from just the earth, is what it's saying, from the atoms of existence, of our whole universe. And then after you die, that's what happens. This has to go with a theme of penitence, being, humble and sorry for things that you've done, not always intentionally, that you need to be forgiven for. And this is where grace gets involved so strongly. That's why grace is so important in the Lutheran Church, is that it's only that way are we able to really, really be forgiven. In the Old Testament, ashes were used for two purposes, as a sign of humility and mortality, just like I just said. Why we say, remember that you are dust, and to dust you shall return. Originally, the use of ashes to show penitence was just a private devotion type thing. Later, it became part of the official type way of showing penitence. And people who had ashes on their forehead, other Christians would see them and remember to forgive them. They would pray for them. People were kind of excluded from church if they really did something bad. And the rest of the congregation then were reminded on Ash Wednesday that they should forgive this person, pray for this person. And that's what happened, is that then they were welcomed back into the congregation. Pretty harsh, but that's the way it was. And they felt sympathy for them. That's an important thing, that you kind of put yourself in their shoes. And then now, of course, we use Ash Wednesday as one of our days of the year that we recognize. And putting ashes on your forehead is an imitation or related to when you're baptized, how oil is put on your forehead in the shape of a cross. And you are now God's. You belong to God. I have a lot of stories about Ash Wednesday. You wouldn't believe some of the things that have happened. One time, I was helping. I was doing half the congregation. They'd come up to the front and kneel, and I would put the cross on their forehead. Well, the pastor had put too much oil in the ashes. And when I put the cross on this one young girl's forehead, it dripped and went on to her brand new white sweater. Guess what? It never came out, I found out. Talking about needing forgiveness. and not mean you do bad things, but it happens. Another time, we got to church, and there is smoke throughout the kitchen area. The pastor at that time had taken the old palm branches. That's what they do, is they take leaves, I should really say, from the palm, from last Palm Sunday over almost a year ago, and they kind of burn them, and then they get the ashes. Well, the pastor had done it inside, and it just stunk up the whole kitchen. And it went into the whole church eventually. And everyone coming in kind of looked around trying to figure out where the fire was. I think there was even a couple fire alarms that went off. So it wasn't real smart of him talking about someone who needed some forgiveness and some sympathy. Okay, I just want to remind you that this next Wednesday, a week from now, if you're watching this on Wednesday, is a free chili supper drive-through. You can have as many as you want for your family. Just stop and get them. Say how many you need. And after that, after you pick up your chili, pastor will be there. And for those who want to, you can have the ashes put on your forehead, imposed, as they say, and on your forehead. But that's optional. Or if you want to just come for the ashes on your forehead, you can, because not everyone likes chili. But it's going to be very good. It's world famous chili. I don't know if I'm going to be out delivering chili to some people who are kind of homebound. But if I'm there, I look forward to seeing you. This is the last video now until the Wednesday after Easter that I'll be producing. I know, it's heartbreaking. Just you can make it that long without one of these videos. Let's see, what's the date on that? That is April 7th is the next confirmation video. Between these times, starting with Ash Wednesday, February 17th, and April 7th, please watch the Lenten service, worship video that Pastor Gloria will have posted on YouTube or on our Facebook page. Either one, it's on both, every week, and that is your confirmation video. I don't think I'm going to be on any of those, so you'll have to do without seeing me. Sorry about that. Well, hope to see you soon. Otherwise, April 7th, I'll be here. Bye-bye.